Although it's a topic surrounded by controversy, there's a chance that in ancient times, intelligent life may have existed on Mars. This idea should be approached with skepticism. Yet, we shouldn't shut the door on fresh perspectives. In fact, it's not a concept held by only those who dare to challenge the boundaries of knowledge. Pyramids on Mars, tall and slender beings, obelisks, or planet-wide cataclysms. These accounts are found in a declassified document that surprises and unsettles with the details it reveals. Why would a U.S. government agency choose to investigate Mars using unconventional methods? What were they hoping to uncover? How much truth lies in what's described? Next, we'll try to answer those questions by diving into a document that defies logic and stirs both wonder and disbelief. We'll present facts that are as gripping, if not more so, than any science fiction movie. We'll also take a look at NASA mission images that show formations which, at the very least, appear to be artificial. I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. Socrates. Chapter 1. The Document. Mars Exploration. May 22nd, 1984. This is an intriguing file declassified in the year 2000 by the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, which details an experiment conducted on May 22nd, 1984. The goal was to explore what might exist in very specific regions of Mars. During the session, the monitor would give the subject said to have psychic or even remote viewing abilities a set of coordinates. MON stands for monitor, and sub refers to the subject. The monitor would be the CIA agent or session guide, while the subject was the person with alleged remote viewing capabilities. Before the interview, the subject received a sealed envelope, which remained closed until after the session. Inside the envelope was a card with the following instruction. The planet Mars. Time of interest approximately 1 million years BC. During the session, the monitor gave the subject several geographic coordinates, but didn't mention that they were from Mars. This method aimed to minimize the chance that the subject might be influenced by prior knowledge or expectations. The first thing the monitor says to the subject is, "All right now, Using the information in the envelope I've provided, exclusively focusing your attention now. Using the information in the envelope, focus on 40.89 degrees north, 9.55 degrees west. This raises the first question. How could the subject know what was in the sealed envelope? Was he able to mentally perceive its contents? Could the subject have been a psychic with clairvoyant abilities? After a few responses from the subject, the monitor says, "All right, move in time to the time indicated in the envelope I've provided you, and describe what's happening." This seems to suggest that the subject was expected to know what was written inside the envelope, even though it was sealed. Furthermore, the monitor never mentions the word Mars during the session. It appears only on the outside of the sealed envelope handed to the subject. If the subject truly read the contents mentally, it would have occurred through what is known as extrasensory perception or psychometry. Such an ability would have profound implications for psychic research and human perception. Did the subject possess mental abilities that allowed him to read the information in the envelope? Or did he infer it indirectly through cues from the monitor? What exactly did the monitor know? There are no definitive answers, as the document does not clarify this information. But the subject's responses that follow are even more astonishing. Chapter 2. The Session. The Subject's Descriptions. The first coordinates given by the monitor to the subject are 40.89 degrees north, 9.55 degrees west. The subject surprisingly says, "I want to say it looks like I don't know, it sort of looks, I kind of got an oblique view of a pyramid or pyramid form. It's very high. It's kind of sitting in a large, depressed area." When reviewing modern images of these Martian coordinates, one can indeed spot a kind of mountain not far from the target point, although the area shows no visible signs of pyramids. Interestingly, it is the same geological formation that was interpreted in 1976 as a face. However, years later, it was confirmed to be just a mountain. Was the US agency trying to find out whether there was more to the Martian region where NASA photographed the so-called face? Why did the subject mention pyramids? Was he describing the mountain, sensing something beyond physical appearance? Or were his responses shaped by suggestion? At the same coordinates, the subject says, "Large, flat surfaces, very, smooth. Angles, walls. They're really large, though. I mean, they're megalithic." The term megalithic refers to prehistoric monuments built from massive stones. Could the subject have truly seen something like that? Next, the monitor asks the subject to move 46.5 degrees north, 353.22 degrees east. The subject responds, "Deep inside a cavern. Not a cavern, more like canyon. I'm looking up the sides of a steep wall that seems to go on forever. And there's like a structure with it's like the wall of the canyon itself has been carved. Again, I'm getting a very large structures. No intricacies. Huge sections of smooth stone." It appears the subject was describing something similar to a massive artificial canyon, with enormous slabs of smooth rock. He speaks of towering ceilings and nearly maze-like spaces, which to him suggested interior halls or chambers. Some interpret this account as evidence, however speculative, of ancient constructed formations. Others believe it reflects the subject's imagination or subconscious pattern recognition. Modern imagery of that Martian region, captured by orbiters like the Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or European probes, have shown no carved canyons or artificial structures. What's seen in high-resolution images of these Martian coordinates are natural geological formations, craters, plateaus, gullies, and cliffs, typical of Mars's surface. However, when the monitor instructs the subject to move to 45.86 degrees north, 354.1 degrees east, the subject gives a striking response. They have appears to be the end of a very large road, and there's a marker thing that's very large. Keep getting Washington Monument overlay. It's like an obelisk. Exploration of that Martian area reveals no obelisks or vertically shaped artificial structures. No monument-like formations have been identified in satellite imagery. Next, the monitor directs the subject to 80 degrees south, 64 degrees east. The subject says, "The pyramids. Can't tell if it's overlay or not because they're different. Got both, and they're huge." Shortly after, the subject adds, "They're like shelters from storms." The monitor tells him to go inside one of the structures. The subject says, "Different chambers, but they're almost stripped of any kind of furnishings or anything. It's like a strictly functional place for sleeping." The monitor asks him to describe those who are sleeping. The subject says, "Very tall again, very large people. But they're thin. They look thin because of their height, and they dress like it's like a real light silk. But it's not flowing type or clothing. It's like cut to fit. They're ancient people. They're, dying. It's past their time or age. They're very philosophical about it. They're looking for a way to survive, and they just can't. Can't seem to get their way out. They can't seem to find their way out. So they're hanging on while they look or wait for something to return or something coming with the answer." When the monitor asks what these ancient beings are waiting for, the subject replies, "There evidently was a group or a party of them that went to find a new place to live. It's like I'm getting all kinds of overwhelming input of the corruption of their environment. It's falling very rapidly, and this group went somewhere, like a long way, to find another place to live." The monitor says, "All right, now before you leave this individual, ask him if there is any way that ask him if he knows who you are, and is there any way you can help him in his present predicament?" The subject states, All I get is that they must just wait. Doesn't know who I am. I think he perceives I'm a hallucination or something. When asked how the other beings left, the subject explains, "It looks like the inside of a larger boat, very rounded walls, and shiny metal." The monitor instructs the subject to go with them on their journey and find out where they're headed. The subject says, "Impression of a really crazy place, with volcanoes and gas pockets and strange plants, very volatile place. Difference is there seems to be a lot of vegetation, where the other place did not have it, and different kind of storm." Chapter 3. Possible explanations. The descriptions provided by the subject are puzzling. What rational explanation can there be for the vision of these artificial structures, and what appear to be extraterrestrial beings? Is it just coincidence that the subject described a pyramid in the same region where the famous face on Mars was photographed in 1976? It's important to note that the monitor or guide never mentioned the word Mars. Only a sealed envelope with the general session context was given to the subject. The truth is, by 1984, when the remote viewing session took place, we already had a fairly complete map of Mars. Missions like Mariner 9 and the Viking orbiters had photographed and charted nearly the entire planet. This made it possible to identify major geological features, including vast volcanoes, mountain ranges, and craters. So by the time of the experiment, May 1984, the scientific community was aware of a mountain formation in that specific Martian region. The precise location of the face was known, and by the late 1980s, authors like Richard C. Hoagland were already discussing alleged monuments on Mars. It can't be ruled out that the subject might have remotely viewed Mars from Earth, using some form of extended perception. But considering that, at least officially, the remote viewing program was dismissed by the CIA, other explanations remain possible. This highlights one of the core weaknesses of the remote viewing method. There is no objective mechanism to ensure that the subject is truly perceiving the location specified by the coordinates. In other words, the subject could have described anything their mind associated with the instructions, without any certainty that they were actually seeing Mars. If the subject claimed to be observing Mars, how could the monitor confirm it? On the other hand, it's also possible that the psychic might have accurately perceived some visions while missing the mark on others. So, what explains the descriptions of pyramids, obelisks, and tall beings? One possibility is that the subject genuinely had remote viewing capabilities and did see Mars, along with those structures and slender humanoid figures. Another option, as we'll see next, is that the subject was influenced by the culture of the time, when Mars was already popularly linked with ancient civilizations. If the subject was subconsciously predisposed to associate the session target with Mars, their descriptions may have reflected those preconceived ideas. Chapter 4: The Face on Mars and Other Discoveries. The image known as the Face on Mars originated from a photograph taken by the Viking 1 probe in 1976. When the images were reviewed, a plateau appeared in the shadows that resembled a human face, featuring what looked like eyes, a nose, and a mouth. This discovery made a strong impression on space exploration enthusiasts and quickly drew media attention. As the photo circulated, curiosity grew around the possibility of artificial structures on Mars. Articles were published suggesting the ruins of a vanished civilization. Some theories proposed that the face had been sculpted thousands or even millions of years ago. Highly speculative ideas, but ones that gained traction in amateur circles. The interpretation of this finding also drew skeptical voices, who offered alternative explanations. It was suggested that the face was nothing more than a natural formation shaped by light and shadow. Erosion combined with the position of the sun over the Martian surface would be enough to create the illusion of human-like features. Still, that original image remained etched in the public imagination. It was evocative, hinting at the possibility of a forgotten past, where beings once carved massive monuments into the Martian landscape. Decades passed, and by the 2000s, additional photographs were taken. New missions equipped with advanced cameras captured higher resolution images that revealed the area in far greater detail. The interplay of light that had once suggested facial features became much less striking under different solar angles. It was confirmed that the supposed face was actually a natural landform, surrounded by grooves and cracks. Interestingly, one image hosted on the University of Arizona's digital platform shows this formation with a square-like appearance and seemingly straight edges. It was captured by the Mars Orbiter camera, which orbited the planet between 1997 and 2006. Is this an artificial structure or a natural formation? On Earth, shapes with right angles are typically associated with human activity, although in certain conditions, they can also arise through natural processes. On Mars, there are other natural formations that resemble a smiling face or even a heart. Straight-edged shapes on the Martian surface could result from tectonic activity, erosion, or ancient geological processes. It's also possible that Martian winds may have shaped a form with sharp edges, though that tends to be less common. This particular image was taken more than 2 decades ago. So whether the structure is artificial or natural, it may now be partially buried under Martian dust. Perhaps in the future, robotic or human missions will explore the area to find out what's really there. Chapter 5: Tall and Slender Beings.
I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very large, wearing some kind of strange clothes.
The declassified 1984 document describes beings with tall, slender builds. They appear in a setting marked by intense storms and massive structures built from enormous blocks. The account notes that these beings wore unusual garments and seemed to be experiencing a period of great hardship, as if they had lost a former era of glory. The subject conveys a sense of melancholy, like they were waiting for something that never came. He mentions they built defenses against extreme conditions and took shelter in wide exterior spaces, possibly to protect themselves from dust storms or severe atmospheric changes. It's possible that the detail about their height reflected popular culture at the time. From the mid-20th century onward, there was growing fascination with science fiction and visitors from other worlds. Films, TV shows, and novels often depicted alien civilizations made up of tall, elegant, intelligent beings in decline, very much in line with the portrayal of these towering, slender figures. But what if the subject in the 1984 document actually saw real beings? Mars's gravity is about 1/3 that of Earth's. Any life form living there would experience far less gravitational pull than we do. To put it in perspective, someone weighing 132 pounds or 60 kilograms on Earth would weigh just 44 pounds, or around 20 kilograms, on Mars. That difference means movement on Mars would feel much lighter, thanks to the reduced weight. It's conceivable that extremely tall and slender creatures could have once existed on the Martian surface. A million years ago, when the remote viewing session attempted to access Mars's past, the planet's gravity would have been essentially the same as it is now.
But there are other factors that determine the development of complex life forms like these humanoid extraterrestrial beings. It is not enough for gravity to be lower for life as we know it to thrive.
Martian temperatures are typically frigid for most of the year. Life would need protection from radiation and severe temperature shifts. It would also require access to reliable energy sources and a steady supply of water. Roughly 3 to 4 billion years ago, Mars is believed to have had a thick atmosphere, moderate temperatures, and stable liquid water. That warm and wet era may have been suitable for some form of life to emerge, at least microbial. As the planet gradually lost its atmosphere and became cold and dry, water vanished from the surface or became trapped underground as ice. The subject in the 1984 experiment mentioned seeing a geological problem on Mars. Was he referring to the planet's worsening conditions for sustaining life? That remains speculative. There is no scientific evidence that such beings ever existed on Mars. The spacecraft and rovers that have explored the Martian surface have found no trace of biological organisms. Today, the focus is on finding signs of past life, especially microbial, by analyzing rocks and sediments that may have once been in contact with water back when Mars had a more favorable environment. Chapter 6. The Obelisk.
They have, appears to be the end of a very large road, and there's a marker thing that's very large. Keeps getting Washington Monument overlay. It's like an obelisk.
The moment the subject mentions an obelisk while describing the area near 45.86 degrees north and 354.1 degrees east is particularly striking. He refers to the Washington Monument, a tall, vertical structure, as if identifying a massive landmark. The word obelisk is often associated with ancient Egyptian culture, though similar monuments exist around the world. Back in the mid-1980s, linking obelisks to Mars wasn't a widespread idea. However, there was growing fascination with Earth's ancient civilizations and the possibility of finding similar structures on other planets. Various films and publications played with the concept that Mars might have once hosted advanced societies that left behind monumental ruins. Still, according to modern data, no vertical structure resembling an obelisk has been found in that region. High-resolution images taken by orbiters and probes show terrain marked by hills, craters, and formations shaped by wind and geological activity. None of these natural features show the height or vertical alignment typically associated with an Egyptian-style monument or carved pillar. Even so, the subject may have interpreted a rock formation or elevated landform as an obelisk, especially if their descriptions were based on vague impressions or mental images of geometric shapes. Another possibility is the human tendency to recognize familiar patterns, a phenomenon known as pareidolia, which can cause elongated or isolated shapes to resemble obelisks or towers. Chapter 7. Who was the subject of the remote viewing session? The subject of the experiment has not been officially identified. The document does not mention the participant's name, which aligns with the confidentiality practices typical of that government agency at the time. In remote viewing experiments, subjects were often government employees, military personnel, or private contractors believed to have psychic abilities. To protect their identities, names were either omitted from official documents or replaced with generic labels like subject or participant. However, it is known that several individuals associated with Project Stargate participated in remote viewing sessions. Ingo Swann was a key figure in remote viewing and a pioneer in experiments involving psychic exploration of non-terrestrial targets. Yet, there is no solid evidence that he was the subject in this particular case. Joseph McMoneagle was another prominent participant in the sessions and has spoken publicly about his involvement, though he never claimed a connection to this specific document. Given the nature of the experiment and the use of advanced remote viewing techniques, it is likely that the subject had prior experience in this type of practice. Chapter 8: Pyramid Suspicions Since the 1970s. NASA's Viking missions, launched in the 1970s, marked a pivotal moment in the exploration of Mars. Two orbiters and two landers sent back detailed images of the red planet. Sparking widespread interest among both scientists and the public. Before these missions, only blurry photos from earlier spacecraft were available, but the Viking probes provided a much clearer view of the Martian surface. With this new perspective, unusual features in certain areas caught attention. Some interpreted them as possible structures built by an ancient civilization. One particular region, known as Cydonia, became a focal point. The area was filled with hills and eroded plateaus, yet some photos revealed shapes that resembled pyramids or symmetrical monuments. This discovery sparked amazement, as it was already known that Mars may have once held liquid water, fueling speculation about the possibility of life. Interpretations of the images varied depending on the audience. Some publications spoke of clearly defined pyramid-like structures, analyzing shadows and outlines to estimate size and symmetry. Others took a more cautious stance, suggesting that erosion and the natural shapes of rocks explained the illusion of artificiality. Fascination grew further when attempts were made to connect these supposed buildings with ancient cultures on Earth. Certain texts drew comparisons between Egyptian pyramids and the Martian ones, hinting at a possible link. Other theories proposed that if inhabitants ever existed on Mars, they might have built these structures for religious or astronomical purposes. Although much of the scientific community viewed these ideas as overstatements, they acknowledged that widespread public interest helped drive funding for future exploration missions. Chapter 9: Remote Viewing and Government Agencies. Remote viewing emerged in the early 1970s at the Stanford Research Institute in California. Two researchers, Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ, explored the possibility of describing distant locations using perceptions beyond the conventional senses. The CIA and other U.S. federal agencies became increasingly interested around 1972, when reports circulated that the Soviet Union was investing resources in psychic research. Fearing they might fall behind in a potential mental battlefield, the CIA decided to fund remote viewing experiments to assess whether there was any real basis to such claims. In 1995, after a review conducted by the American Institutes for Research, the CIA concluded that remote viewing did not offer a clear benefit for operational intelligence. That same year, much of the information was declassified, including the revelation of the program's official name, Project Stargate, which was then made available in public archives. Project Stargate was the umbrella name for several research programs focused on extrasensory perception, funded and managed by U.S. agencies from the late 1970s through the mid-1990s. The core of remote viewing involved placing a volunteer in a relaxed state that would allow them to perceive a target, whether an object, facility, or geographic region. Numerical coordinates or other cues were assigned to guide the session. Afterward, the volunteer would describe what they saw, architectural features, colors, or impressions. The goal was to cross-reference the descriptions with independent data to check for accuracy. So, by 1984, when the remote viewing experiment on Mars took place, these CIA-backed projects were still very much active under the Stargate program. The image of the face on Mars had been released in 1976, years before the session was conducted. For this reason, some have speculated that the CIA may have been curious to find out whether there was anything unusual in that particular Martian region. Chapter 10: What was the CIA looking for? The CIA has never officially explained its reasons for exploring remote viewing on Mars, but there are several plausible theories. One possibility is that the agency wanted to investigate the existence of structures or artifacts that might indicate the presence of intelligent life, either past or present, on the Red Planet. At the time, science had not found definitive evidence of life, but speculation surrounding the Viking images and theories about Martian civilizations may have encouraged further inquiry. Another theory suggests the CIA was simply testing the range and limitations of remote viewing. Mars, as a distant and inaccessible target, posed a unique challenge to see whether this technique could produce accurate descriptions of remote or unreachable locations. Such experiments could also help the CIA evaluate remote viewing for more practical, Earth-based intelligence work, like locating enemy facilities or gathering information on restricted areas. The most speculative theory holds that the US government already had knowledge of extraterrestrial life. Allegedly in 1933, the Magenta UFO incident occurred, in which a craft of unknown origin crashed in the Italian city and was stored in a hangar near Milan. July 1947 marked the Roswell incident, where an alleged extraterrestrial craft and its occupants were reportedly recovered. This event adds to more recent claims by supposed former Area 51 employees, who have stated that some alien craft were not crash debris, but had been uncovered during archaeological digs. Some believe these incidents all involve extraterrestrial technology, while others dismiss such claims. But there's more. In 2020, the Pentagon declassified 3 startling videos showing unidentified flying objects performing extraordinary aerial maneuvers. In 2023 and 2024, former military personnel and government contractors testified before the U.S. Congress, making shocking claims about the recovery of biological entities and non-human spacecraft. If these statements are eventually confirmed, it raises a new hypothesis about the CIA's remote viewing experiments on Mars. Could they have been part of an effort to understand and classify the beings and craft allegedly found on Earth? At the same time, it's important to consider alternative possibilities. The session described in the declassified document presents vivid images and concepts, but lacks direct evidence. What if the goal wasn't to investigate Mars itself, but rather to generate public noise, perhaps to distract attention from other sensitive operations or strategic objectives? Chapter 11: The Fascination with Mars. Ancient cultures observed the reddish glow in the sky and linked that hue to gods and myths. Egypt, Babylon, and Greece included the planets in their records, reflecting a lasting interest in its movement among the stars. In Greco-Roman times, Mars was associated with warlike traits. Ptolemy mapped its path and classified its position using simple tools, fueling curiosity about its erratic behavior. Centuries passed, and the invention of the telescope sparked deeper study of neighboring planets. Galileo Galilei noticed a disk that looked different from the stars, while others tried to detect features on Mars' surface. In the 19th century, Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli published maps showing lines on Mars, which he called canali. This sparked the idea of constructed canals and ignited widespread imagination. Percival Lowell expanded on this idea and argued for a network designed to carry water. He described supposed engineering projects and spoke of Martian civilizations struggling in a desert-like environment. His lectures and writings stirred wonder. Some of his peers doubted the accuracy of Lowell's illustrations, but the public enthusiastically embraced the idea of intelligent life on that distant world. Early scientific debates sparked controversy. Some supported the theory of artificial canals, while others pointed to optical illusions or misinterpretations. The media amplified these assumptions. Articles promoted the idea of an inhabited Mars, and readers were captivated by the notion of beings struggling with water scarcity. Literature added to this vision, with novels that captured both fears and hopes about contact with Martians. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells was published in the late 19th century, depicting invaders arriving from the Red Planet. That story caused a stir. It raised whether such beings would be peaceful or hostile. The book introduced the concept of a possible clash between civilizations, which resonated with those following scientific developments of the time. Ray Bradbury offered a nostalgic take in The Martian Chronicles, published in 1950. He explored the fragility of the human experience in a world beyond Earth, blending melancholy, encounters, and reflections on loneliness. Mars became a staple of pop culture, featured in films, radio shows, and all sorts of storytelling. Many of these works embraced the idea of discovering ruins, abandoned cities, or advanced societies. Meanwhile, astronomical surveys confirmed a dry landscape marked by traces of ancient water flows, clues that only deepened the belief that something remarkable might have once existed there. Chapter 12: Lost Cities. Analysis of quadrangular formations. Since the first probe sent back detailed images of Mars in the 1960s, theories have emerged about the possible existence of surface structures. Photos captured by the Mars Global Surveyor which orbited the planet from 1997 to 2006, offered some of the most detailed views of the Martian landscape up to that point. Among the many regions photographed, certain areas displayed geometric patterns that appeared too orderly to be entirely natural. Specifically, quadrangular and straight-lined formations in regions like Elysium Planitia and Utopia Planitia drew significant attention. Some interpreted these configurations as potential remnants of ancient Martian cities, eroded buildings, or even canals linked by roads or walls. The arrival of the high-rise camera in 2006 aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter greatly expanded the ability to observe the planet at higher resolution. This technology captured features as small as 1 meter per pixel, helping clarify many formations previously thought to be artificial. HiRISE revealed that most of these features were caused by fractures in the terrain, sedimentation and erosion processes, and patterns created by the sublimation of underground ice. Still, these scientific explanations haven't always convinced those who continue to believe in the possibility of ancient cities on Mars. Chapter 13: Martian Cataclysms. The declassified 1984 document, which describes intense storms and a geological disaster, has been linked in some circles to the idea of a planetary cataclysm. It's been suggested that the described catastrophe echoes the comet impact theory, a massive event that may have triggered sudden changes, possibly explaining the loss of much of Mars's atmosphere. Data gathered by various probes indicates that Mars once had liquid water and a much thicker atmosphere. Today, however, it presents a dry, frigid environment with a thin atmospheric layer. A collision with such a large comet could have released enough energy to strip away part of that protective cover. The impact, or the resulting shockwave, might have sparked a period of initial warming, followed by rapid loss of essential gases. Researchers believe such events occurred billions of years ago, during a time when the solar system was filled with roaming celestial bodies. This comet theory is partially supported by studies showing massive craters. Mars's surface features vast basins, such as hellas, that could have been formed by ancient impacts. Was a comet strike the trigger behind the downfall described in the visions of Mars's tall beings? That remains yet another speculation without verifiable evidence. Chapter 14: Transfer of life between planets. This concept is known as panspermia, which suggests that life didn't originate on Earth, but instead arrived here from space via meteorites or other celestial bodies. Mars, with its potentially habitable past, stands out as a strong candidate for such a transfer of life. Billions of years ago, the red planet had warm and wet conditions, with liquid water on its surface. These circumstances could have supported the development of simple life forms like microorganisms. If any of them survived an impact, they might have traveled to Earth, inside fragments of Martian rock. In fact, this process has been observed. There are meteorites on Earth that have been confirmed to come from Mars. Some studies have searched for life in them, though no conclusive evidence has been found so far. Panspermia also raises the possibility that life may have migrated from Earth to Mars. But this idea faces several challenges, including the vastly different atmospheric and geological conditions between the two planets, which makes survival and adaptation difficult. Another key consideration is the ability of microorganisms to endure the extreme environment of space. The odds of them surviving the journey and successfully establishing life on another planet remain low. Still, some Earth microorganisms have shown a remarkable ability to survive in harsh conditions, suggesting they may have a higher chance of enduring an interplanetary journey than previously thought. A specific form of panspermia is known as directed panspermia, the idea that intelligent beings from advanced civilizations deliberately send the seeds of life to other planets. The 1984 document mentions that the supposed tall, slender beings were searching for a way to survive on a planet becoming uninhabitable. If Mars was once home to a thriving civilization, it's possible they turned their focus toward Earth as a potential refuge for survival. It mirrors what we're doing today, developing the technology that might one day allow us to reach and settle on Mars. In the event of a catastrophe, such as a meteor wiping out life on Earth, Mars could be the nearest planet where a new civilization might begin. The subject in the experiment described groups of beings who set out in search of a place to survive, while others stayed behind on Mars, waiting for a return or a solution. This aligns with the idea that an advanced Martian civilization may have tried to preserve its legacy by sending life, technology, or genetic materials to other worlds before collapsing. Once again, this remains purely speculative and cannot be verified. Chapter 15: The Implications of Discovering a Pyramid on Mars. Discovering a pyramid on Mars would radically transform our understanding of the universe and of our own place within it. Such a finding would have far-reaching consequences, from science to pop culture, and would spark a wave of questions and challenges humanity would need to confront. First and foremost, uncovering a pyramid on Mars would serve as undeniable evidence of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Until now, all signs of life on Mars have been limited to hints of ancient microbial activity. A structure as complex as a pyramid would suggest that an advanced civilization not only lived on Mars, but also developed sophisticated technology and architectural capability. From a scientific standpoint, the presence of a pyramid on the Red Planet would open up entirely new avenues of research. Experts would seek to determine the age of the structure, the materials used in its construction, and the techniques employed to build it. In addition, analyzing the pyramid would offer valuable insights into Mars's geological and climatic history, helping scientists better understand how the planet evolved into its current state. Culturally, the discovery of a Martian pyramid would make an immediate impact on global society. Images and reports of the structure would spread rapidly through the media, igniting widespread public debate. Fascination with Mars and the possibility of contact with advanced civilizations would intensify, inspiring a new wave of science fiction, art, and literature. Religiously, such a discovery would prompt a re-evaluation of long-held beliefs and doctrines. Many religions have interpreted the universe through an Earth-centered lens, viewing humanity as the focal point of divine creation. Confirming intelligent life on another planet would challenge these views, leading religious leaders and believers to reinterpret sacred texts and teachings on the origin and purpose of life. In the realm of technology, it could reveal advancements far beyond our current understanding. If the structure displays signs of sophisticated engineering, scientists would likely attempt to decode its systems and replicate its innovations. The political and social implications would be significant as well. Nations and space agencies would feel compelled to collaborate more closely in exploring and studying Mars, aiming to understand any extraterrestrial findings. At the same time, competition to access and analyze the pyramid might intensify, sparking both cooperation and tensions between countries and private entities with space-related interests. The discovery would also drive greater investment in space exploration. Humanity would feel more inspired than ever to launch continuous missions to Mars and other planets, seeking answers and possible unknown technologies. Lastly, the psychological and philosophical impact of finding a Martian pyramid cannot be overstated. The confirmation that we are not alone in the universe would fundamentally alter how we perceive our existence and purpose. Humanity might begin to feel a sense of belonging to a broader cosmic community, an idea that could either foster global unity or deepen divisions and conflict. Chapter 16. The Skeptics. Arguments against Martian pyramids. One of the core principles of skepticism is the principle of parsimony, also known as Occam's razor. It suggests that when multiple explanations exist for a phenomenon, the simplest one is usually correct. Applied to the supposed Martian pyramids, this principle favors natural explanations over artificial ones. Rather than concluding that complex structures were built by an advanced civilization, scientists believe the shapes seen on Mars can be explained by geological processes, such as erosion, meteorite impacts, and volcanic activity. Geologists, in particular, offer a critical perspective on these claims. These experts have studied Mars's topography in depth using data from numerous space missions, including Viking, Mars Global Surveyor, and Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. According to their research, the formations some interpret as pyramids are actually natural geological features. Plateaus, craters, and eroded hills can take on shapes that, from certain angles or under specific lighting conditions, appear artificial. However, closer examination reveals no evidence of deliberate construction. Another key argument is the complete lack of direct evidence for intelligent life on Mars. To date, no concrete signs of advanced civilization have been discovered on the Red Planet. Current and upcoming missions continue to search for clues of past or present life, but none have found anything resembling artificial structures. The absence of tools, technology, or any remains of intelligent construction supports the skeptical viewpoint. Finally, skepticism is rooted in the commitment to scientific rigor. Hypotheses must be supported by strong and repeatable evidence. So far, claims about Martian pyramids lack verifiable proof and rely more on subjective interpretation than on objective data. Chapter 17. Mars, a fascinating planet. As a potential first step for humanity toward other worlds, Mars sparks deep interest and great anticipation. It's a land of extremes, a planet that, while seemingly desolate, holds landscapes so breathtaking they surpass anything found on Earth. One of the most astonishing features of Mars is Valles Marineris, a formation that defies imagination with its monumental scale. This canyon system, located near the Martian equator, stretches over 2,500 miles, or 4,000 kilometers, nearly a quarter of the planet's entire circumference. To put it into perspective, Valles Marineris is longer than the United States from coast to coast and deeper than the Grand Canyon. Another colossal feature of Mars is Olympus Mons, the largest known volcano in the solar system. It rises to a height of 13 miles, or 21 kilometers, about 3 times taller than Mount Everest. Its slope is relatively gentle, suggesting that it formed through long-lasting and repeated lava flows over millions of years. On Earth, tectonic plates are constantly shifting, distributing volcanic activity over time. On Mars, the crust remains stationary, allowing a volcano to grow in the same spot for millions of years. In the southern hemisphere lies the Hellas Impact Basin, one of the largest depressions in the solar system. This massive crater, measuring about 1,400 miles or 2,300 kilometers in diameter, was created by an asteroid impact billions of years ago. Mars's North Pole is also a stunning sight, with vast ice caps that stretch across the region during the Martian winter. This polar cap is made of frozen water and solid carbon dioxide, commonly known as dry ice. As the seasons change, the ice cap expands and contracts, forming striking visual patterns. In contrast, the South Pole displays equally fascinating formations. One of the most intriguing is the so-called Martian spider, a radial network of channels that appears when carbon dioxide ice sublimates, turning directly from solid to gas. In addition to these geological wonders, Mars also features vast dune systems that stretch across large regions. Shaped by wind, these dunes form intricate and ever-changing patterns over time. In some areas, the dunes appear as dark streaks that sharply contrast with the planet's reddish terrain, while in others they resemble gentle waves rolling across a sea of sand. Another notable location is Arja Mons, part of the Tharsis volcanic region. Though smaller than Olympus Mons, it remains a massive and impressive formation. Its crater shows signs of relatively recent volcanic activity, suggesting that Mars may have been geologically active more recently than previously believed. Chapter 18: NASA's Rovers. Since the first successful landing of the Mars Pathfinder mission in 1997, rovers have played a crucial role in uncovering the secrets of the Red Planet. The Spirit rover, which landed in 2004, and its twin, Opportunity, marked a new era in Martian exploration. They traversed wide plains and craters, discovering minerals such as hematite and gypsum, substances that only form in the presence of water. Opportunity in particular found small iron-rich spheres, known as Martian blueberries, providing strong evidence that liquid water was once present on Mars for extended periods. The Curiosity rover, which landed in Gale Crater in 2012, took exploration even further. Outfitted with advanced instruments, including high-resolution cameras, a chemical lab, and a drill, it analyzed sediment and rock that once lay at the bottom of a lake. Curiosity detected simple organic compounds in drilled rock samples. While not direct proof of life, their presence suggests that Mars once had the chemical conditions necessary to support microorganisms. Another major discovery by Curiosity was the detection of seasonal fluctuations in methane levels in the Martian atmosphere. On Earth, methane is largely associated with biological activity, although it can be generated through geological means. Its intermittent presence on Mars raises compelling questions about whether there might be a biological source, though no conclusive evidence has been found so far. The Perseverance rover, which landed in Jezero Crater in 2021, is focused on searching for signs of more complex ancient life. This crater was chosen because it contains an ancient river delta, a location that, on Earth, would be ideal for preserving microscopic fossils. Perseverance has collected sediment samples that will be returned to Earth in future missions. These samples could offer the best chance yet to uncover biosignatures or compounds that point to past life on Mars. With all these advancements, one question naturally arises. Could the rovers detect remnants of ancient structures if they existed? The answer depends on the size, location, and preservation state of such constructions. Rovers are equipped to analyze soil, rocks, and chemical compounds, but they also carry cameras and sensors capable of spotting unusual patterns in the landscape. If a rock formation stood out due to its sharp angles or an arrangement suggesting intentional design, scientists would certainly investigate it further. However, rovers have their limitations. Their mobility is restricted to areas near their landing sites, and while their cameras are powerful, they can't survey large regions quickly. Additionally, Martian erosion, wind, and dust may have buried or obscured any possible ancient structures, making them hard to distinguish from natural surroundings. Even if a rover discovered something resembling a building, extensive analysis would be required to determine whether it's artificial or simply the result of geological processes. Chapter 19. Is it possible to discover ancient structures on other planets? To explore this idea, it's essential to understand when and how life emerged on Earth, how long its development took, and whether similar conditions could have occurred earlier elsewhere in the cosmos. Life on Mars appeared about 3.8 billion years ago, almost immediately after the planet stabilized following its formation 4.5 billion years ago. This rapid emergence suggests that if the right conditions exist, liquid water, a suitable atmosphere, and energy sources, life can arise relatively quickly on a cosmic timescale. However, the transition from simple life forms like microorganisms to complex organisms took billions of years. Multicellular life didn't appear until around 600 million years ago, and the first human civilizations emerged just about 10,000 years ago. A blink of the eye in the cosmic timeline. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old, meaning Earth and its life came along quite late in comparison. Many stars and planetary systems formed billions of years before the Sun. This raises the possibility that some worlds in those older systems could have developed life long before Earth, provided conditions were right. If intelligent civilizations once existed on those planets, they would have had ample time to reach unimaginable levels of technological and cultural advancement, and possibly to leave behind traces of their existence, such as buildings or artifacts. In our solar system, Mars and several icy moons, such as Europa, Enceladus, and Titan are promising candidates in the search for past or present life. As previously discussed, Mars once had liquid water on its surface and a denser atmosphere billions of years ago. Conditions that could have supported microbial or even complex life forms. The moons, meanwhile, possess subsurface oceans beneath their icy crusts, kept warm by gravitational interactions with their parent planets. These environments could have nurtured underground ecosystems. If any of these locations hosted intelligent civilizations in the distant past, they may have left behind structures or artifacts. However, uncovering such remnants would be difficult due to erosion, volcanic activity, and other geological processes. Beyond our solar system, exoplanets located in the habitable zones of their stars represent another realm of possibility. Advancements in technology, particularly space telescopes, have enabled the discovery of thousands of potentially habitable worlds. If some of these planets are significantly older than Earth, they might have once been home to civilizations that no longer exist. Yet, those traces remain in the form of orbital structures. Abandoned technologies, or even faint radio signals lost in time. The search for ancient constructions faces not only the challenge of identifying where life might have emerged, but also the question of how long civilizations tend to last. On Earth, many civilizations have vanished due to natural disasters, internal conflicts, or climate shifts. On a cosmic scale, the threats faced by civilizations are even greater. Asteroid impacts, nearby supernova explosions, gamma-ray bursts, or even shifts in planetary orbits all have the potential to wipe out advanced species. Additionally, civilizations might bring about their own downfall through war, environmental collapse, or resource depletion. If advanced societies once existed on other worlds and then disappeared, their structures would have been subjected to the forces of time and nature. On planets with dense atmospheres, wind and rain could erode buildings within just a few million years. Meanwhile, on airless bodies like the Moon, constructions would endure much longer, though they'd still be vulnerable to meteorite impacts and cosmic radiation. Even if such remnants survive, detecting them would require observational technologies far more advanced than what we currently possess. In the galactic context, the vastness of both time and space expands the possibilities as well as the challenges. Of finding evidence of lost civilizations. In a galaxy like the Milky Way with at least 100 billion stars, The events that lead to life and its evolution could have taken place multiple times, in different locations and eras. This means that perhaps several civilizations existed before us, but have already gone extinct. An added challenge lies in the vast distances between star systems, making it unlikely for advanced civilizations to interact or even detect traces of one another. If ancient structures ever existed in other galaxies, detecting them would be incredibly difficult due to the limitations of our current instruments and the fact that the light reaching us from those galaxies reflects events that occurred millions or even billions of years ago. Chapter 20. The Martianus, a lost civilization. Imagine an ancient Martian civilization known as the Martianus, which thrived during a time when Mars was warm, wet, and teeming with life. The Martianus emerged billions of years ago in an era when Mars had vast oceans, flowing rivers, and the thick atmosphere that supported conditions similar to those of early Earth. This civilization, made up of intelligent beings with remarkable engineering and exploratory abilities, built monumental structures that dominated their landscape. They were a species adapted to Martian conditions, with tall, slender bodies suited to the planet's lower gravity. Their cities rose across fertile plains and valleys near bodies of water, reflecting an advanced level of architectural and scientific knowledge. These cities featured towers that reached toward the sky, temples dedicated to stargazing, and massive pyramid-like constructions built as centers of energy or spiritual focus. But Mars was not always a stable place. The planet's geological history reveals it underwent dramatic transformations that led to its current barren state. A key event in the decline of the Martianus was the collapse of Mars's magnetic field, which left the planet exposed to the relentless bombardment of the solar wind. This quickly stripped away the atmosphere, reducing surface pressure and making it impossible to retain liquid water. As the oceans and rivers vanished, the Martianus faced an unprecedented crisis. In addition to atmospheric loss, Mars experienced massive tectonic shifts and catastrophic events such as asteroid impacts and enormous volcanic eruptions in the Tharsis region. These disasters devastated the Martian ecosystem and fragmented the Martianus communities. With their natural resources dwindling and their environment growing ever more hostile, the civilization was forced to take desperate action. They split their efforts in two directions. One segment of the population sought to survive by adapting to the new conditions, retreating into underground systems and deep caverns, to shield themselves from freezing and radiation. The other group, driven by their advanced technology and spirit of exploration, set out to escape Mars in search of a new home. Using spacecraft built with superior knowledge of propulsion and energy, they journeyed to other worlds within the solar system and beyond to distant galaxies. Over the course of millennia, the civilizations on those planets developed myths of gods who descended from the sky, deeply influencing humanity. In this way, the Martianis, once on the brink of extinction, became the ancient builders who inspired great civilizations across other worlds, passing on their knowledge before vanishing completely or blending in with native populations. As the ages pass, the structures left behind on their home planet faded from view or were buried entirely. Yet, their legacy in the cosmos lived on. Chapter 21. Conclusion. The information provided by the subject in the 1984 Mars exploration remote viewing session remains both unsettling and fascinating. Yet, without confirmation through direct observation and data, nothing can be verified. One possibility is that the descriptions shared by the subject during the session stem from subjective perceptions, cultural influences, or even subconscious imagination, rather than reflecting actual realities on Mars. The mentioned details, such as megalithic structures, giant beings, and catastrophic storms, are striking, but there is no scientific evidence to support these claims. Remote viewing, though explored by the CIA and other agencies as part of experimental Cold War-era programs, has not proven to be a reliable method for gathering verifiable information. Without solid data from direct observation via space missions or advanced technological exploration, these types of narratives remain within the realm of speculation. Truth is not a predetermined destination, but a horizon each person must strive to reach on their own. With the information presented, every individual has the freedom to decide which ideas to embrace, which to question, and whether to open themselves to unexpected horizons.